Welcome to aminacademy.com. In questions how, why, and what, we answer this. How do ships float? You may notice that a penny coin, metal coin, if you throw on the water surface, it will easily sink because its density is more. But a very giant ship is simply floating on the water. Why? Have you noticed the difference? Because the ship's weight is so much than compared to the a penny coin, but penny coin sinks easily, but the giant ship is floating easily. Why? Have you noticed? Eureka! Eureka! I found, shouted Archimedes after the sunk in his bathtub. But did you know that the discovery behind that Eureka is the reasons why ships float? Imagine being Archimedes casually taking a bath and finding out as you sink in that the upward buoyant force that is exerted on your body immersed in a fluid, whether partially or fully submerged, is equal to the weight of the fluid that the body displaces and acts in the upward direction of the center of the mass of the displaced fluid. Now, further discussion. Why do ships stay afloat easily? We may have explained the reason why ships float, but how does a vessel withstand treacherous seas and high winds without tipping over? The answer lies in weight distribution and stability of the ship. The optimal weight of distribution is determined by considering the weight and buoyancy of a entire ship, ensuring that it remains balanced and afloat. The correct calculation and adjustment of these factors are vital for the seaworthiness and stability of the boat. The engineers and naval architects carefully designed ships to ensure a low and well balanced center of gravity to maintain stability of various conditions of the floating ship. Distribution of a mass. Engineers also ensure that the mass of the ship is evenly distributed, especially below the waterline. This balanced distribution helps prevent excessive tilting or leaning in response to wave or wind. Now let us discuss further about how do ships float easily. Ships float due to buoyancy, which is the upward force that supports objects in liquids or gases. The principles of Archimedes explain why ships float. The upward force on an object in water is equal to the weight of the water the object displaces. Look at here. This weight of the ship, downward action, buoyant force, upward action, both balance and ships easily float. And pushing force helps to the ship to travel the direction. Now, how are the reasons why the ship float? Displacement. When a ship is lowered into water, it displaces water until the weight of the water displaced equal to the weight of the ship. The ship's weight is also referred to as the displacement. The density, the average density of the ship and everything inside it must be less than the same volume of water. But ships are made mostly the steels and wood, but it is of course the density is more than water density, but it easily can float. Why? Ships are mostly hollowed out shells of steel, and the air inside the ship is much less dense than water. The hull design, the shape of the hull is often broad and deep to allow a large volume of water to be displaced. The ship is halo object made of iron and steel which contains a lot of air in it. Air has a very low density. Due to the presence of lot of air in it, the average density of the ship becomes less than the density of water. Therefore, a ship floats in water. Now, let us talk about a Titanic ship. The RMS Titanic was a British ocean liner that sank in the North Atlantic Ocean on April 15, 1912. It's a very tragic event, tragic accident. The Titanic was 269 meters long and weighed 52,310 tons. Construction began on March 31, 1909, and the ship was launched on May 31, 1911. The Titanic maiden voyage was from Southampton, England to New York City. Sinking, the Titanic struck an iceberg at 2340 on April 14, 1912 and sank 2 hours and 40 minutes later. Casualties, the Titanic sinking resulted in the deaths of more than 1,500 people, making it one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. How it's wrecked. Titanic's wreck lies on the ocean floor about 325 nautical miles south to southeast of Newfoundland. The wreck is in two main pieces about 2,000 feet apart. This wreck. What happened? The Titanic was the largest ocean liner in service at the time. The ship was traveling at roughly 22 knots, that is nearly 41 km per hour, when it struck the iceberg. The impact caused by a series of thin gases, brittle fracturing, and separation of steam in the hull plates. Water flooded into the ship, causing it to sink. Aftermath. The sinking of the Titanic was one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. The United States Congress held hearing and implemented measures to improve navigation safety. The Titanic became a cultural icon, inspiring books, articles, movies, and memorials. Finding the wreckage. The wreckage was discovered in 1985 by maritime explorer Dr. Robert Ballard. Ballard used cameras instead of sonar to search for the debris field, which was a much larger target than the ship itself. The wreck is located at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, about 13,000 feet, nearly 400 meters underwater. Salvage. The salvage operations have recovered thousands of items from the wreck, many of which are on public display. The Titanic has a swimming pool, camera, command post, and had two sister ships. It was also nicknamed the Millennium Special because it carried many prominent people. Now you can understand simply how ships can float. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.